Hi, everyone. My name is Troy Vermillion, and this is 8 Hour Grind. All right. My guest today is honestly a real grinder. He is a well-known leadership and career coach who has worked in the recruiting industry for over 40 years. Jeff is the host of No BS Job Search Advice Radio and JobSearchTV.com. The podcast is the number one in iTunes for job search with more than 2,000 episodes. Man, talk about wow. I'd also like to give him a warm welcome. His name is Jeff Altman. Jeff, I'm so excited to have you.
Yay! Welcome. But I gotta say one thing right off the bat.
Yeah, go ahead.
8-hour grind is for amateurs.
Yeah.
The pros put in more hours.
Yeah, no, you're probably right. But you know what? We wanted this to be for everybody, Jeff.
Okay. So for the amateurs, you have the 8-hour grind. For the pros, we all know you put in more time, right?
Yeah, we got to hook them, while they think that work is easy. 8 hours is all it takes, and then we kind of reel them in, and then we hit them with the truth. It's like a sucker punch from Mike Tyson. Like you're not ready for it, but you're gonna feel it.
Gotcha.
Hey, the other thing I was thinking when I read BS, the first immediate thought I had was, what does Bob Saget have to do with job searches? And then I immediately realized, he hasn't had a job in a long time, so it made tons of sense.
Yeah, and Bob Saget certainly needs more attention.
He's funny. Like, I've heard some of his just stand-up comedy skits. He's hilarious.
Yes, and he hasn't quit his day job.
No. I had mentioned this when we had talked. I also, really like the format of the podcasts that you're doing. They're just like little bite-sized pieces. And so, I was scrolling through the 2000, which was overwhelming, if I'm being honest, the 2000 that you have. And I was just like, I can pick the topic I'm most interested in, or I feel like I'm struggling with right now. And so for, people who are, looking at, changing a career, going through some interviews, lost their job, God forbid, it's a wonderful resource for them. I need to brush up on my skills. And honestly, if that's not enough, and sometimes it's not, just reaching out to you for a coaching session is the direction I would go.
And where do I send the check to you for that commercial plug?
I thought you said it was in the mail.
Hello, can't hear you. Did you say something?
Yeah, exactly. You're breaking up, right?
There you go.
So
and joking
Jeff,
aside, I'd be happy. I do free discovery calls with people, and you can go to my website. Okay, if I mention it now?
No, yeah, sure.
At the website, now's a good time. BigGameHunter.us. You can schedule a free discovery call, schedule time for coaching. There's a lot of resources there as well in the blog.
Yeah. And speaking of which, I really like that name, Big Game Hunter, and I've actually framed some thoughts I have around it for later. But can you just give me some idea where that name came from and why it's worked so well for you?
Easy. I work professionally as a recruiter, and we all know everyone hates recruiters, and with good reason. Most of them are incompetent, amateurish, obnoxious, rude. There's a reason the industry has a reputation. And I wanted to do something to separate myself from people who said they were recruiters. Now, creating a glorified title for myself, a lot of recruiters are now VP of Talent Acquisition for North America with 2 weeks of experience.
Yeah.
And I was trying to think of, okay, what can I do? The term the big game hunter came to mind, which can play with the idea of being a headhunter, which people got right away. So there was an equivalency there. And I trademarked it for anything employment related in the U.S. And it just works so well in that regard and allowed me to stand out from people, which is a part of branding, is how do you differentiate yourself. And for me also now as a coach, I help people play big. And rather than the way so many people do is they're small, they're good boys and good girls. And I don't want you in the box anymore. I want you to be bigger than the box that your employer puts you in. So it just came to me as I was trying to think of, how do I stand out from all the people that everyone hates?
Yeah. Well, you've done a good job of it, but you've also put out some resources. I was looking at your podcast on personal branding. You've actually done several different episodes on that. So, get out there and take a look at that. But I will tell you that your personal branding, even on the internet, the people around you, right? That is such a key aspect of you getting or not getting the job a lot of times, or at least getting the opportunity to speak to somebody, because you get 200 resumes for a position. Like, how do you differentiate, right? It's that personal brand. It's that, that first, impression that I get from somebody, and you can get it from a lot of different things. You can get it from the resume. You can get it from LinkedIn. You can get it from, God forbid, somebody's Facebook if they're, not so great. Yeah, exactly.
But here's some data.
Yeah.
A firm is 12 times more likely to hire someone if the person's been referred to them.
Yeah.
So if someone internally knows them, 12 times more likely. But the more senior you get, even if you're referred, the idea is, who's the safe hire? Right. Who's the one that cuts the line to the front and allows you to stand out from everyone else? Yeah. And it's the one who's got the rep, the one who's got the brand, the one who's known as the expert in a particular field that gets to the front of the line. And whether you do what I did, which is come up for a term to define yourself, as well as the content, is what I've done, or you just focus on the content, the idea is, how do you separate yourself from the millions of people? Yep. Or if you're in a smaller town, all the other individuals in your market area who can do what you do as well as you. Yep. How do you become the one that everyone wants to contact? And content creation is a big part of it for me, because, like I said, I knew that everyone hates recruiters, so I gave people a way of getting to know, like, trust, and respect me before they even contacted me. Same thing with coaching now. I understood that no one knows how to choose a career coach. Maybe you get a referral, but then, as someone said to me yesterday, I'm so reluctant to write a check, but to you I'm willing to do it. Because they got a sense of me from all the content I create, that I can work with them and help them get the result that they want.
Yeah, so, you're about your business.
Exactly right. And thus, for you as people who are working at your craft, it's easy these days to create a reputation for yourself outside of your organization. Remember, outside of your organization as well as inside the organization. And that's really how you start building your brand and reputation, is not just focusing on people internally, but also being bigger than that, going outside that firm.
So, I mean, would you say that there's really no excuse for you not to have, kind of your own personal brand out there? And would you ever, tell somebody, hey, this is not important to you? Because I can't imagine a situation where, you never know what's going to happen. I lost my job in the middle of the pandemic. You'd ask me, I crushed my number, in the organization, and you would have asked me, hey, do you think there's any chance you're on the chopping block here, even if things turn sideways? And I'd been like, no, not a chance. And then, here I am. I lose my job, right? Pretty important. I had a personal brand that got me, job offer an hour later, right? So I double down on what you're saying there around the personal brand and how important it is.
And I'll go an extra step in a way that many of you can understand, even if you're wondering to yourself, what do I need a brand for? I'm a this, I'm a that. Brand, that's for big companies or famous people. When you go to the store and you buy detergent, folks, have you ever picked up 2 packages of detergent, looked at the list of chemicals and went, oh, the interrelationship with the chemicals in this detergent is going to make my wash so much brighter than the ones in this one?
Nope.
No, it's the price. You got a coupon. Your wife, husband, partner, mother, father, whomever told you this is the right one. Or you don't care. You just reach for something.
Yep.
no one ever buys it based upon the value of what's in the packaging.
Yep.
Same thing with job hunters. How do you get to the front of the line? How do you put yourself in the position where you're advantaged in people's minds? And that's really what we're going for in branding, is how do you cut the line so that no one questions whether you're the right hire. And then when you're interviewed, because they're going to want to confirm that you are that person with that rep, how do you advantage yourself so you walk in the door, they're already favorably disposed to you?
100%. Yeah. So you've spent most of your career teaching your clients how to get the job of their dreams and negotiate the best terms, right? When we last spoke, you shared with me that you're now helping leaders and organizations hire more professionally. So how has your experience from, let's call it the dark side, because I like that, of the equation, given your audience, your clients, the edge in hiring top talent?
So the first thing I try to do is break down what I consider stupidity, that they think they can really hire for fit.
Yeah.
Because to me, it's a setup for failure. After all, when you think about it, let's say I'm talking to you as a job hunter. Mm-hmm. When you go on an interview, you're on good behavior, right?
Sometimes.
Well,
but that's me, yeah.
You're trying to put yourself in a good light in front of them.
Sure.
On the other hand, most people don't understand that employers are trying to do the same thing as well.
Right.
I figured that out pretty early in my career in recruiting, when it came to me that I'd never heard of an employer ever say to a job hunter, I've got a crisis around here. And
right.
I've taken over a team of individuals who are absolutely incompetent. And my predecessor got fired, and so did hers. And I've got a team of bozos that are reporting to me now. And it doesn't take a genius to figure out my butt's on the line. I need to hire a couple of people to save it.
Yeah.
And you know what? They never talk about what happened to the last 4 people at that desk you're going to be sitting in. Yep. Why did they leave? Mm-hmm. No. They always have this nice little happy smile button face. And they talk about a great opportunity with a terrific team of people. Did I mention we're like family around here?
Yeah.
No. Yeah. Certainly, it's the family that's in all the Christmas movies or the Thanksgiving movies that want to kill one another.
National Lampoon style. Cousin Eddie works here, right?
I hope not, but they do.
Yeah. So, they don't talk about Cousin Eddie, but he works there.
So, given the fact that you're on good behavior and so are they, how could they possibly assess for fit?
Right.
It's impossible. And the proof is in the statistics, where 18 months after they hire someone, almost 2/3 of hiring managers have buyer's remorse over the person that they hire. That includes you, folks.
Yep.
So I'll simply say it's a setup for failure. And, it goes on with that they ask predictable questions that keep you on the script and don't allow your personality to come out. Mm-hmm. And most of you are nice, compliant people who get on the conveyor belt of the interview and don't demonstrate your leadership. I don't care what level you're at, there's a way of demonstrating your power and your leadership.
Yep.
So I try and help employers get out of the box of the predictable questions so that they can get the real person in front of them, and then from there make a good choice.
What do you think is the cheesiest question that you hear on the regular? Tell me about yourself.
It's a lazy question. Tell me who's not prepared to answer that question. Now, you may answer it badly, but it's a lazy question.
So do you think it's like a layup on the other side, and it's just like a give me? Almost like, what's your weakness?
Oh, God. Not that one.
Yeah. Mine's kryptonite. Or cookies. I think.
Really?
It might be cookies. Cookies is probably the right answer.
Ice cream. But
that's
a different part of our conversation. But, you can walk in having that answer rehearsed.
Yeah.
And the way I coach people about interviewing, I want you to confirm what it is that they're looking for before they even ask that question, so that you can tailor your answers and talk about what matters to them and not just talk about what you've done.
Yeah.
So to me, it's important to connect the dots in answering the question with what it is that they're looking for.
Nice.
So you can have this all practiced in advance, and including any sort of pause and hesitation or stutter built into your answer, because you're a performer acting it out.
Yeah, I heard you say that on one of your podcasts. There's a little bit of theatrics to it, right? You got to bring in the...
There's a theater to interviewing, because your job is to be personally persuasive. As a result, if you're not and you're just flatly reciting details, you put them to sleep, and they start thinking about lunch, dinner with their wife, husband, partner, that meeting they should be at. What's that? Did I get that email? I haven't seen a text from so-and-so yet. And you lose them. And we live in a short attention span culture to begin with, so why would we ever want to risk losing our audience?
Well, you've probably heard this a million times. It might be cliche, but what's the definition of insanity? Doing the same thing over and over and expecting a different result. And so maybe...
I never heard of that before.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. So maybe you have to, if you want a different opportunity, you want a different career, you want a different net result in your hiring or in your job search, maybe you should look at things a little bit differently. Maybe you should present your ideas a little bit differently, right?
Yeah, and there's so many ways to do it, but understand you have to follow their lead. So it's like a dance here, and you're allowing one person.
I'm not a very good
to
dancer,
lead.
so
I don't know that about you. There was something on your LinkedIn profile about that.
My wife says I'm a good dancer, but I'm not. So I love it when she lies to me.
She's lying to you. Yes.
Yeah, exactly. No, she's just sweet. That's all it is. So what are the questions that, when it comes to hiring that we are not asking as leaders that we should be asking employees?
So the first question I teach employers to ask is, so what are you looking for in your next job or organization?
Okay.
And that's the first question. And the reason is, if I can't give it to them, why should we talk about anything else?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Automatic disqualification.
Right.
Yeah.
And if you're not sure, I encourage the hiring manager to talk about, this is what I can do. This is the nature of the environment. I'm completely open and transparent. That's what I want them to do. So in this way, you're not getting mishires, people who you're conning into go to work for you, only to have them with buyer's remorse at the end of this. And job hunters, you have regrets in your decision much sooner than 18 months.
Yeah. Yeah, so, you were regretting that last week when you made
2
the
weeks
decision.
after starting.
Yeah.
It's awful. So that becomes question number one. Tell me what you're looking for in the next job or organization. What do you need to hear or see to believe it's a great choice for you?
Yeah.
And if I can't give it, I'm going to tell you, so that this way we can go and part as friends. And I'm not here to put you into a situation where you're going to hate me 2 months from now. I'd rather help you find something else. And you're looking for that. I may know someone. Let me introduce you, or I'll get in touch with the recruiter who referred you. Don't take that information that was referred to you by a recruiter and give it to your friend at another organization. You're stealing from the agency that referred you.
Yeah.
So don't do that.
Yeah.
But the idea becomes, right off the bat, you identify what it is that you are looking for, or they're looking for, so that you can rule people out immediately.
Yeah, I like that. I mean, it's if we're getting rid of the representatives that we all kind of show up to these things with, and we're being honest, I think from both sides, we want to hire good people that are going to feel fulfilled in their work, right, and do a good job and be there for a long time, because the cost of acquisition is horrendous. And on the flip side, employees shouldn't want just a job to have a job, right? Like I think there's places you can go work to just have a job, but if we're talking about people in the middle of their career, like, do you really want to have those, 1 year, 1 month here, 1 year, 4 months here, 8 months here, 7 months? Think about what that makes you look like on the other side, right? You want a job or career or opportunities where you can stay and be fulfilled for longer periods of time. I'm not saying you got to be there for 30 years like your grandparents were, but I just think that it kind of tells a story, right? And I think it puts, whether it's all your fault or not, I think it puts a negative connotation on future opportunities for you.
It does. And the sad thing is, often it isn't your fault. Often it's the employer who's withheld information because they're so desperate to get someone into that chair that 4 others sat in before you.
Yep.
That they're willing to, shall we say, not share everything about the job. And the result is you get hurt. And I don't want that to happen. So as an employer, as a job hunter, I encourage people, we got to dig in deeper, because sometimes it's your fault, often it's their fault, because they just don't tell you enough, and you don't know how to ask the right questions to elicit it from them.
Yeah. Do you think there's more culpability on the employer at this point, or they're overselling the job, or do you think people oversell their skills and abilities and work ethic?
The answer is yes.
Yes. Okay. The answer is yes. Somewhere in the middle is the answer.
Everyone has culpability in this.
Yeah.
And part of that is job hunters go on interviews and they wing it, and they don't practice, and they don't rehearse, and they don't learn the things that would allow them to elicit this information proactively. Right. On the other hand, like I said, employers are in situations where they hire people and withhold information and talk about the great opportunity with a terrific team of people. I know I've been victimized when I was working in search like this twice, where I was told about a great group. I even went so far as to sit in and observe the group, and they were all told to be on good behavior while I was there.
Yeah. What did they look like the next day when you showed up?
Oh, I basically,
all in monkey
week
suits?
after I joined, we were told to act a certain way with you.
Yeah. Well, that's disappointing.
Very.
Golly. You probably felt like you were in an episode of like the Body Snatchers or something. Like, this is not the person I met on the interview.
It was horrible.
Yeah.
Horrible. So understanding that, they can't evaluate for fit, you're in a bind. So I just want to help people navigate a system where the rules are really set up against them.
Yeah.
And the employers have all the information and you don't.
Right.
And they withhold, and shall we say that this is, one of those slang terms, finesse the truth.
Yeah. Massage.
Lie.
Right? Yeah.
Lie. They're politicians. They lie to us. They look us square in the eye and they lie to us. So, given that,
that's where you intro bad music, like bad guy music right now. So remember
boo,
that. Yeah.
Boo.
Yeah, lots of booing.
Yeah.
So as you look back, across your entire 40 years, of coaching, teaching, therapy, whatever you want to call it, all forms of career counseling on both sides. What has changed the most in that time?
There's a couple of things that have changed, and obviously communications medium have changed.
Yeah.
I started off in the day where you mailed a resume, or had messengers on staff to deliver things to your clients. So we start off in those days, and obviously now we know the pervasive nature of technology.
Yeah, I might shoot a text to somebody that I'm interviewing with, right? I mean, that you would never do something like that back in the day.
Right. Didn't exist.
Yeah, well, it didn't exist, but like that would have been probably unprofessional.
There's so many terms for it.
Yeah, whatever.
You're running up my text bill.
Ha! You know what? You're not wrong. So there, long distance. You had your whatever cents per hour and then or minute, and then you had per text fees, which that was crazy.
Tell us what it was like in the old days, Grandpa Troy.
Yeah. Look, are you still sending smoke signals to communicate with people?
Often. But the other thing that's really changed is with recruiting firms or search firms, the degree to which employers have retrained them out of bad behavior, but bad behavior still leaks out. So they don't want any headaches. Employers do not want headaches. They don't want job hunters coming to them saying, well, the agency told me this. It's not true. That sort of scenario is one that's anathema to them. And they basically trained most search firms of any competence out of that sort of stuff. Whereas back in the Stone Ages, I was encouraged to place the same person 5 times in 8 months.
Wow.
There were 30-day guarantees back in the Stone Ages.
Yeah.
Translated, I earned my fee if you went to work for a firm for 31 days.
Yep.
Back in the Stone Ages. So I was.
So call me back on day 32.
Exactly.
We'll start
right.
looking.
Start looking. They were already looking on day 1.
Yeah. Yeah. This is not what I signed up for.
Right, and thus you placed them in, and you'd sit there and go, "Oh, that's terrible.
Yeah.
I feel so badly," and place them again, and again. And folks, I outgrew this bad behavior a long time ago.
Yeah.
I found it reprehensible. It's one of the reasons I left my first firm to start my own.
Yeah.
So this is what I was trained in back in the Stone Ages. And these days, thank goodness, employers have basically encouraged recruiters not to do this.
Yeah. Well, I mean that just in the day of the social network, I mean that can get out pretty quick now. So I think a lot of those behaviors aren't as prevalent as they once were, albeit that they're still, I heard you mention on one of your podcasts that, some recruiters will ask you, where else are you looking at positions so that they could go try to fill the position behind you. That's a dirty trick. I'd never heard that one before.
I'm glad I could educate you.
Yeah.
But kidding aside, folks, initially it was done for good intention. And that is, I don't want to waste my time and duplicate anything I've already done for myself. Yeah. I don't want to mention my client name, and I'll speak from personal experience because I had 2 instances and lost $65,000, $70,000 in fees because the next action that the job hunter took was contact the firm.
Right.
I would ask where they've been on interviews, and if they were reluctant, I played the game of, does the name of the firm begin with a B?
Yeah.
So that this way we could start, and if they said no, it's great, no issue whatsoever. Okay. We could move ahead. Because again, I understand they were afraid of me taking that information, costing them a job, and I was afraid that, as it happened to me twice that I knew of, that they would cost me fees that were pretty substantial.
Yeah.
So yes, there's still these games that get played, and it's sad. It's really sad that this goes on. Yeah.
So when it comes to the greatest, kind of approach you can provide employers and employees, if you were to summarize it in a few words, what do you kind of bring to the table?
The big thing I do is I function as an ally.
There you go.
And it's an ally for a job hunter. It's an ally for an employer, for a hiring manager, because often hiring managers are not trained how to hire.
Right.
They're not trained on how to manage. And even if they've gone to grad school for management, they're not really trained to deal with it on a day-to-day basis. A friend of mine talked about going for his Harvard MBA, and he spoke about what do you do with a problem employee was the question from the professor. And the correct answer was bring them into a room and talk with them privately and counsel them about their impact on the organization, all the correct stuff that we as Americans believe in. And my friend told me there was the young son of a Korean industrialist in the room. And he started laughing. He said, "What? What's so funny?" He said, "We don't do that in our country. We bring them into the center of the room and we fire them in front of everyone. We humiliate them. We teach them never to do this again, and we never have any problem with anyone else." So there are ways to manage that people need to learn that are different than what they've been trained. And certainly with hiring, how do you get bias out of the equation?
Yeah.
How do you deal with objective data rather than, it seems like a nice woman, I think she could fit in here, and making the decision for whim or, I think that they do well. It kind of reminds me of Lou or Ramesh. No, that's not why you hire someone. You hire them because they can actually do what you need them to do.
Yep.
And then from there, everything is a bonus. So, what I do is I function as an ally. That's the big thing. is I help people make great decisions and navigate a search process, a hiring process, how to manage and lead better and be more effective in the workplace in resolving issues.
Awesome. I appreciate the feedback on that, because I was thinking, hey, being able to align on both sides of the equation, what's the greatest value, and ally, I think, is the right word for it. Excellent. And you actually, unlike some people in their experience, don't have both sides of the equation. Usually you're just kind of, in one. So I love that. So the next part of the show, now that we've done all the professional things and we've got that out of the way, although it was enthralling. Enthralling?
It
was, yes. I really enjoyed all of it.
Not captivating. It was enthralling.
Well, the next part will be captivating. So.
All right.
But the next part is really just a fun part. As I mentioned before, I feel critical thinking is an important skill, right? You were talking about theatrics earlier, and so I want to challenge my guests' ability to actually think outside the box with obscure situations, primarily for my enjoyment.
Okay. In other words, screw the guest.
Yeah, no. I'm not going to put you in a situation where you have to say anything inappropriate. If you choose to do so, it could be blurped out, or we could, whatever. But so I just have 3 rando questions for you that have nothing to do with. Well, actually, one of them is very much for you because of the big game hunter. So I was leveraging that kind of self-proclaimed title for a question I have for you. So, but we're not going to start off with that. Yeah,
I can't wait. Let's get going.
All right. So, would you rather fight a yak-sized goose, one, right, or 100 goose-sized yaks? Go.
Well, the answer is one yak-sized goose.
Okay. Why? Why just one?
Because I have to choose one or the other the way I have the question set up. So I picked the first one.
You picked the first one. So do you think it would be less dangerous, or do you think you could outrun a yak-sized goose or outsmart one?
Well, I think one of the advantages I have is I could outthink it.
Okay.
So the first thing, I think I can run faster than you.
Yeah.
So I'm going to run faster and let the yak-sized goose get to you first.
I don't know if you could run faster than me, but maybe. All right,
that
good
was very
answer.
kind of you to let the guest get away with that.
Maybe I'll let you. Yeah, maybe. All right, so here's the one that I really like. So no, actually, the next one will be that one. Sorry. If you had to choose one song that played every single time you walked in the room for the rest of your life, what would it be?
Ooh, that is a fun question. And there are a lot of possibilities. Now, I was listening to Rod Stewart yesterday, and I'm certainly not going to go to Do You Think I'm Sexy?
Why not? You don't want to ask the question. You don't want to know the answer.
I know the answer, so I don't have to ask the question.
Right.
I think it could be... I used to love the Doors when I was growing up.
Okay, I can dig that.
There's a lot of great music that they've done. My first temptation is to go to People Are Strange.
Yeah, that's a good one.
So it's, if you think I'm going for an aggressive tone, I'm going for something a little weird.
I like weird. So, obviously I'm asking questions about, goose-sized yaks. So I can dig it. We used to listen to the Doors with our mom, so it was good. So let me ask this last one, and to kind of preface it again, it's kind of themed around the big game hunter. So I'm not sure if we talked about this or not, but I'm from the Pacific Northwest. So I'm from Northern California, up there where the redwood trees are, the deep dense forests, and so in that community up there, Bigfoot is big. Bigfoot is king, right? So I'm not going to ask the question, do you believe in Bigfoot? Because that would be too easy. That's yes or no. So I'm going to skip that, are you a believer question, and I'm going to jump directly to a secondary question. That question was, here we go. If you were hunting Bigfoot, where would you look first, and what would you take with you?
First of all, I don't kill things.
But look, so maybe you bring a camera, but you're hunting him. You got to find him. What do you do?
I think I would go to Walmart.
Walmart.
Bigfoot is going to be in Walmart looking for shoes, because if he's marching around the Pacific Northwest, he's going to shoplift shoes, so he doesn't get his feet hurt.
So to be specific, you would still look in the Pacific Northwest for him. It would just be a Walmart located where?
Northwest. In the Pacific Northwest.
Okay, we think in Vancouver area, Seattle. Okay.
Yeah. Outside of Seattle, yeah. Or it could be
look, he would fit in really well with Seattle. I mean, there's a lot of people up there that don't shave a lot of things, and I think he would fit in really well. What's that?
Might be able to code and work for Amazon.
Yeah. Oh, look, he's been. I heard my friend say the other day, and this is actually why I had the question. He was talking about Bigfoot, and he said, you know what? He is the all-time world champion of hide and seek.
Tied with the Loch Ness Monster.
Yeah. Well, I think you could argue a plesiosaurus or Loch Ness Monster was probably a real thing at one point, and it probably is now dead. And it was probably in the loch. But regardless if you believe in that stuff or not, I mean, they haven't found any evidence of it. So who's to say, right?
And the other option for the longest time was Osama bin Laden. But they've eventually found him. They have not found Bigfoot.
Yeah. And but maybe we're looking in the wrong place. Maybe like Osama, Bigfoot is in a compound somewhere with his, wives doing dirty deeds. I don't know. I mean, maybe we're looking in the wrong place.
I think he's being kept by the ISI in Pakistan, and he's in a compound, and we need to send special forces in to get him.
I love it. Yeah. Well, hopefully you enjoyed the conversation, Jeff. This was really fun for me.
All but the last 3 minutes. But
no,
that's
that was the best. You liked it. We're just solving the mysteries of the universe. That's all. It's just you and me, two guys, figuring it out. We got everything else figured out. Why don't we just go to the weird stuff? We probably could have started there and then finished with the other stuff. But either way, I really enjoyed the conversation. Hopefully, I can be on one of yours at some point. I haven't got an invite yet, hint, hint. But at some point, I would love to either interview you again or, I'll continue to be a listener of your podcast because I really did get a lot out of it. But any closing thoughts for our guests? Or listeners, excuse me.
I'm the guest.
Yeah. Well, closing thoughts for yourself.
So the skills needed to find a job are different than those needed to do a job.
Yes.
And most of you can do what you claim to do. The problem is you're an amateur on the job hunting side. Every great athlete in the world practices. Every great entertainer in the world rehearses. Job hunters go on interviews, and the first time the words ever come out of their mouth are at the interview, and then they wonder why they don't get results. It's really very simple. You were winging it.
Right.
You came across with an answer that was half-baked and didn't impress anyone. Coaching helps to solve that. There are methodologies that you learn to interviewing, creating a great resume and LinkedIn profile, because you do need both these days, of course. How to negotiate salary, how to navigate the search and post-employment, how to get onboarded and be effective in your new role. So, don't cheap out. It's dumb to have to learn through trial and error, making so many mistakes that cost you opportunities.
Yeah.
So, I hope you reach out to me. Again, thebiggamehunter.us.
Yeah. I was going to say, how can people reach you? Is there any other, just the website?
The website is the best, thebiggamehunter.us. You can schedule time for a free discovery call or coaching, or just pillage the blog. There's just over 11,000 posts there that you can watch, listen to, or read. I'll also tell you, connect with me on LinkedIn at linkedin.com/IN/the Big Game Hunter, because my network is a lot bigger than yours. It'll grow a lot faster by being connected with me, and mention that you saw me on the 8-hour grind, or what should be the 10-hour grind. And that way it just lets me know that you saw me here. And I'll also mention, subscribe to No BS Job Search Advice Radio, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Play, wherever you listen to podcasts, and JobSearchTV.com will connect you to my YouTube channel. It's also available on Amazon, Roku, Apple TV through another app called BingeNetworks.tv, and maybe 90 other smart sets. So follow me all over the place.
So basically everywhere.
Pretty much.
Awesome. Well, Jeff, thank you so much for coming on and sharing your insights, thoughts, advice. That last bit was really good. And so I've had a lot of fun, learned a lot, and I hope the listeners have as well. I want to thank you again.
So thank you. And folks, be great.